Welcome to Here Where You Belong, your go-to podcast for exploring belonging, with your host and belonging expert, Dia Irby. We are thrilled to have you join us. Together, we'll dive into the depths of what it means for each of us to find our own place in the world, whether it's within our communities, our relationships, or within ourselves. Today's episode is meant to inspire, uplift, and remind you that no matter where you are or where you're headed, you have a place where you truly belong. So, grab a cozy spot and settle in. Welcome to Here Where You Belong.
Go. Hello, awesome belongers. Welcome home to Here Where You Belong podcast. Today's guest is a woman who proves that transformation starts not with luck or circumstances, but with the thoughts we choose to believe. I'm Dia, your host, and I can't wait for you to meet someone who turned her family's story of struggle into a legacy of purpose. Help me welcome our guest today, Jennifer Mecham. Hey, Jennifer.
Hello, Dia. How are you?
Doing great. Well, let me tell you a bit more about our guest. Jennifer Mecham is the owner of Elevated Thinking with the Coal Miner's Daughter. Oh, I love that. And a success performance coach who helps motivated people bridge the gap between where they are and the life they truly desire. Her journey began in the shadow of Utah's coal mines, hence the title of your company, where her father spent his life searching for gold, first in the mountains and later through a life-changing discovery in the power of his own mind. After receiving the secret from her father, one of the last gifts he gave her before he passed, Jennifer didn't yet realize how deeply it would shape her future. Years later, in a season of dissatisfaction and searching, that same DVD, I hope you still can have a DVD player, resurfaced and ignited a new path. Inspired by the teachings of Bob Proctor and the Think and Grow Rich, Jennifer embraced personal growth, doubled her income, and stepped into the life she once only imagined. Today, she guides others to uncover their own mental gold, transforming frustration into freedom and dreams into daily reality. Welcome, Jennifer Mecham. Any additions, subtractions, or corrections?
That was excellent. I really appreciate that warm introduction. Thank you so much.
Well, I'm glad we got it right. So see, listeners, amazing. We're going to have a great time on this episode today. As you know, this is a podcast about belonging. And I've asked you on here to share your belonging story, either in search of it or how you found it or how you provide it for others. So take it away, Jennifer.
All right. Well, thank you. Yes, my story is a search of that sense of belonging. Um, just like you mentioned, I was the daughter of a coal miner. My dad worked his entire adult life in the coal mines of Utah. And in his off time, he spent looking for gold in the mountains. That was his way to hopefully, lift our family out of the poverty that we did live in. I had a very loving home and family. My parents really loved us and took really good care of us, but we just struggled paycheck to paycheck. And it was just it was just a hard way to live when you can't pay the bills, or if there's an emergency, your car breaks down. Anyway, I decided, I wanted to do something more with my life. And so I did what I was told would get me there. And that was go to college, live a life that I wanted to, and not just living in a paycheck to paycheck mentality. But so I went to school. I had a great education, decided on the route. I was a history major, studied minority history. And that was the route I was going to go to. I did my bachelor's, my master's. And what I studied in minority history led me to work with a really great professor. And she studied racial socialization of children in the Jim Crow years. And that led me out here to North Carolina. And that was my plan. I was going to go right into that field. But I let someone kind of throw me off. I worked with someone who mentioned that because I was white, I shouldn't be teaching this. And instead of just thinking, no, there's room for all of us to teach this, and it should, these topics should be taught by more than just one group.
Right. It would bring
Uh,
in a different perspective. What are they?
right. And there's just so much. I had really great professors who were white and taught me valuable information about race relations in the United States. And that's something everyone should know, I feel. But I let that single comment really push down my dreams.
Mhm.
And I thought, she's right. I would have to go back out west probably to teach this. And I had just left. So I kind of gave up on that and I just fell into healthcare research, which was fulfilling, but not quite exactly what I wanted. I did a lot with maternal fetal medicine, a lot of healthcare research. Well, it was it was not the work that I wanted to. And I also had gotten married really early because that's what we do in Utah. We marry early. I was 19, married to someone who proposed after only knowing me 3 months, and that was completely normal. So, for years, I would wake up at night. I couldn't sleep because I knew I wasn't living my purpose. I knew I didn't belong where I was in the career and in the marriage. He was a good person and I was a good person, but we just didn't belong together. But yet the messages that would come to you saying, that you hear that it's better for the kids. I have two daughters, and it's just better for the kids if you stay together, or it's just too hard to make it out on your own. Those types of messages that we just seem to listen to instead of really, really challenge in life. And it wasn't until I hit rock bottom. This was at the beginning of the COVID pandemic, when your routine just all of a sudden stopped. And there was no getting up to get ready for work, take the kids to school, run around, do the activities. It all stopped. And that was when I really had to just face myself and say, is this what I want to do for the rest of my life?
Mm.
And um, and that's when that DVD appeared. My dad had given me this when the movie The Secret came out. And The Secret is really it's a more of a documentary of people who've gone from the bottom to the top. They've gone from the bottom of life and really embraced the power that's within themselves to live the life of purpose and freedom that we all want to have, but most of us don't strive for. And so there's this movie. I put it in when he gave it to me back when it came out. It was kind of worldwide phenomena.
Right.
Uh, you remember it?
I remember it. I'm
Yeah,
glad.
well, he was so impressed with this movie. And here's my dad. He was a mountain man, always looking for gold or out in the mountains. And he wasn't a TV man at all. He didn't watch films, but he was so impressed when my mom gave him this film. He was like, "This is it.
I
This
was
is the
going to ask,
gold
how did he get connected if he wasn't really in the realm
into
to
the realm of TV
your
world."
mom gave it
My
to?
mom was an Oprah Winfrey fan,
Oh,
and
okay.
Oprah had a special on the film The Secret after it came out. And so she was talking about it to my dad, and when he saw that, he was so like taken back because he'd been told that working as a welder in the coal mines would always be a good safe job with retirement benefits. He was miserable. He hated it. Who would like live working in coal mines?
No, no.
But when he got that film, he understood that that was the secret. The secret is the power of your own mind to direct the life, direct yourself to your purpose, to create the life you want instead of just default on these messages that we're told of how we can live and what we can do. So fast forward to the COVID pandemic. I'm home. There it is. I didn't even have to look for it. There it was. It was almost like divine message right there.
Sure.
I put it on. This time, though, I really did some research onto all the teachers of this principle, and they all had really powerful messages. They all do have very powerful
Right, right.
messages. But I was drawn to Bob Proctor because he'd been doing this the longest. He was kicked out of high school. Um, he bounced around from job to job for 10 years. He couldn't keep a job. He spent his nights drinking at the bar. He was just going nowhere. And it wasn't until a man got a hold of him in 1961 and introduced him to the copy of Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Yeah.
He said Napoleon Hill spent his entire life writing this book. It would do you a lot of good to spend your entire life reading this book. And now, if you don't know who Napoleon Hill is, he was mentored by the world's first billionaire, Andrew Carnegie.
Right.
Andrew challenged Napoleon to kind of make a recipe for the common man on how they can create success themselves. And so he challenged Napoleon, you're going to spend your whole life writing this, and he did. He took it upon himself to do this. And he found in this book, Think and Grow Rich, I keep it with me. It's always by me. But 13 principles of success, 29 principles of failure. And Bob really took this to heart and he started studying this. He went from making $4,000 a year in 1961 to $175,000 that same year. By the end of the year, $175,000 in 1961. And he took it over $1 million just a couple of years later. And this was before the internet. And then he just had to stop and say, well, how did this happen? He just started a cleaning business, but how did this happen to him? So he'd give people the copy of the book. And it didn't have the same effect. He saw other people with cleaning businesses, but they weren't as successful as he was. So how did this happen? So he just offloaded his company, his multi-million-dollar business. By then he was all over the Canada, the US, the UK. And he gave it up and went to work with Earl Nightingale, who was mentored by Napoleon Hill. And he spent the next 10 years learning about the power of the human mind to create the world we want to create instead of floating along, waiting, just living. We can create our standard. We can create this life that we want by design, find our purpose. And instead of bottle it up and listen to all the messages that come in and tell you what you can do, what you can't do, what you should do, or what you shouldn't do, you just learn to listen to your intuition and and start acting out what you really want to do in life instead of just putting a bottle on who you are or bottling up your soul.
Yeah, that reminds me of the illustration about a fish. Don't judge someone by whether they're smart or not. Like a fish can't climb a tree. How it doesn't make any sense for a fish to spend their whole life trying to climb a tree. That's not what they're made for. That's not their purpose. It's the same for us.
Right. That
Fine.
we really try to put ourselves in a peg or, the round
Right.
peg in a square hole kind of analogy, and we don't really fit. But then we just think, okay, we have to stay here because this is what we know. This is what we
Right.
do. And, we've got to think of retirement, things like that, that just keep us all bottled up inside. And it's not until you really internalize these messages over and over. And that's what Bob found, was that he was by reading this book every day, he was really internalizing these messages and he started to believe in himself and then taking the actions to get out there and make it, getting out of his comfort zone, getting out there and doing what he needed to do to create a better life for himself. Now, when he started the cleaning business, that just helped him with money. He had a money mindset problem. But that wasn't his passion. He learned that his passion was teaching others how to do this too, how to live a more purposeful life. And after he learned the concept of why this worked for him, he spent his entire life, the 63 years of his life, teaching others how to, all over the world, how to create a life of design instead of a life of default. And so I went and I enrolled in his class. This was during COVID still. And it was the course was called Thinking
Online, obviously.
Well, yes. Online, right? Yeah. So the course is Thinking into Results. And within the first 2 months of that course, I was able to get the job I wanted, was for me at the time was my dream job. And I almost doubled my income. I made major shifts in my personal life. I was able to, part ways amicably with my husband, and he's much happier now, and I'm much happier now, and we get along great. We just knew we weren't right for each other. We just didn't belong together, and I didn't belong in this career. I had to change. I had to make these changes. So within these changes happened so quickly with me that I knew there was something more. So before this, I would have had my dream job and that would have been it. I would have coasted through life and been happy, been satisfied. But now I've learned how important this is for everyone. And I'm looking at so many people around me who are just settling like I had. And then my girls, I just didn't
How
want
old?
my girls. How
How
old are
old?
they? So my oldest daughter, she is 19 and my youngest is 16.
So yeah, they're ready to launch soon if
They
they
are.
haven't.
And so I'm learning about this now when they're out there, but I've already programmed them for the way I've programmed them from the time they were little to conform like society has. This is what you need to do to get a job. These are the go for a high paying job like this, choose something like this. Because as parents, we want our kids to be safe and comfortable. And we don't want them to take chances because they may be taking risks. But at the same time, I've learned that that's the absolute wrong thing to do. And so I'm backtracking now as a parent because now I have to reprogram my own kids to say, no, take the risks. Go out there, take a chance on yourself, find exactly where you belong, what feels good. And what I like to say is, if you're not sure, just find what you really love to do, find out the talents that you have, your skills, because
Mm.
we all have our own skills, all our own talents, but you've got to tap into those and just start discovering. Just start discovering where you belong instead of corking yourself into some 9 to 5 job just to pay the bills. Don't ever do that.
Well, and you could commit your whole life to having that steady job, and then they do downsizing or
Right.
combining
There's
with other
no
companies.
guarantee.
There's no, I mean, all of us, and then you haven't gotten to be who you were meant to be, do the things you were created to do.
Right. You've never learned to pull out your own talents. And there's one thing you can count on in life, and that's yourself. So as long as you can pull your talents out, pull your skills, know what the system is, how to get from A to B. This is your goal. This is where you want to go. This is how you do it. So now there's no excuse. Now you know wherever you go, yes, you're going to face obstacles along the way, but you don't stop. You just find your way around the obstacles and you keep moving. And at the end, you'll find there is no end. There's always creation. There's always a way to make just to make things better for you, for your family, for the people that you come in contact with. It never ends.
Right.
That's the one thing you can count on. You cannot count on a company to provide you an income forever or to give you the stability at the end of your life. Most people don't even have a savings, let alone retirement fund.
Yeah.
And so you've got to get up, push yourself up and get out there and learn how to do this yourself. You're the only one that you can count on.
Well, you're also the only you. It's not
Right.
like there's 3 or 4 other yous out there. And so you need to do what you're here for. And this is fabulous. We are going to take a break here, but I mean, we could talk forever, never, never, but we will be right back with Jennifer Mecham. Right back. Hey there! Isn't my guest amazing? So glad you joined us today. In this world that often feels disconnected, building community and fostering belonging are essential. That's why I created this podcast, to bring inspiring people to you, to encourage you to create that sense of belonging and community, no matter where you are. If you're being blessed by my guest, and we have some more, like, subscribe, and share this podcast. You know who needs to hear this. Stay connected, stay true to yourself, and always remember, you belong. Now, back to our amazing guest. And we are back with our guest today, Jennifer Mecham. And if you've ever seen one of these, or even if you haven't, I will tell you. On the second half, I have my 3 favorite questions to ask each guest, and it's always amazing what they come up with. The first question, and I want listeners, how would you answer this while I'm asking this question? Just think about it. What do you consider is your greatest accomplishment? And you've got
Stepping.
lots of them, but pick me one.
No, I'm proud that I decided to step outside of that box, that comfort zone, and really bet on myself. Learn how to, this is how you do it. and now I've got this all inside of me now. I've got the principles. I know how to do it. Now I want to teach my girls how to live a life of purpose. And I just, everyone I come in contact with now, I have this passion just to say there's so much more to you. I just want you to believe in yourself more, to find your purpose, find your sense of belonging, because your belonging is it within you. So I did. I spent my life searching for where I belonged and never feeling like I fit in, until I learned it's all starts within yourself.
Right. If you don't belong to yourself, then whatever you're putting out there is your avatar. It's not you. And everybody's getting to know your avatar. Everybody's having experiences with your avatar, but you're not. And so,
Right.
yeah, you need to. That is a great accomplishment. And because of all of this, you started your company.
Right. And now I get the opportunity to teach people these principles. And it's so, you look back and you're like, it's so simple. But when you're going through it, you're like, oh, people just don't have a belief in themselves that they can. But when you're
Well,
taught these principles, you really can, and it becomes like second nature. It just becomes part of who you are. Like, yes, you can. You look at your days like absolutely beautiful, like exciting to get up now instead of dreading getting up. It's just you've got so much fire when you find your purpose, when you find that sense of belonging, you just wake up with fire and you just want to go out and teach the world. Everyone you have the opportunity to. It's just a more exciting way to live.
you said it's just so simple. Is that the word you use? Simple or easy or whatever? It's for you, it is because you're doing what you were made to do. When we find the real comfort zone
Hmm.
of being comfortable with who we are, not the comfort zone that the world has given us to be in, but when we are being and doing what we were made to do. I mean, not everybody can start the company you started. It's what you're supposed to do. And it's really simple for you to teach other people that because that's what you're supposed to do.
Yes, and that's true. That is the comfort zone now. I finally found the real comfort zone instead of
The genuine comfort
the
zone,
safety that I've always been told. Just do this because it's a nice, safe job.
the artificial comfort zone.
Hmm.
It's just like how people, well, it's the familiar evil is more comfortable than the unknown risk. So
Right.
people would go for safety over adventure or security over seeking more.
Right. And that's something I've learned with through Bob Proctor's program, is that it's our subconscious mind, is how we operate. Most of our behaviors are through our subconscious mind, and our subconscious mind wants to keep us safe. Safety is through the known, but when you step out into the unknown, yep, it's scary. You don't know what's around the corner, but that's where the growth is, and that's where you're going to find your sense of belonging.
Right. The fruit's out at the end of the limb.
Right. This is true.
Climb out to the end of the limb to get the fruit. Yes. Okay.
But
So,
yeah.
what's your process if someone comes to your company? What's the process?
So they enroll in the same course that I took, Thinking into Results, which is a 6-month course that
Okay.
goes through the process of um, goal creation. A lot of people they don't have belief in themselves to do, and they don't even know what it is they want in life. So a lot of people start there. We iron that out and get them on the path. So it's all about setting a goal, but then achieving the goal. It's the instructions, the recipe on how to achieve that goal. You go through a 12 module program to start the goal, implement it, and you just work by these principles, and it will happen by law, by universal law. It has to happen. So most people start off with a goal, the beginning of the year. They have a goal. This is what I want to
Oh
do.
yeah. New Year's resolution.
Right, but most of those resolutions are done within 2 weeks.
Right.
They,
Right.
because most people can set a goal, but they don't know how to achieve the goal. And it's really about how do you achieve that goal?
Mm.
And it's all about ironing out what it is you want and setting a goal so high that you don't even know how it's going to happen, because it's going to create within you the need to completely transform yourself instead of setting a little goal. A small goal, it's not enough to fire you up in the mornings, to get you out of bed to do something totally different. A big goal is what's going to demand complete transformation.
I've heard it called a big, hairy, audacious goal. Your BHAG. It's scary. It's big. Well, I have you ever met someone that came up with a plan and just doing the plan, they felt like they had accomplished it? They would talk about, well, we can do all this, da da da. Like even I'm going to go on a trip to New York City and we can do this and da, da, da. Okay, well that was fun and I don't even need to do it. I did the plan. It's like, have you run across anybody? I have. I have.
So a lot of people that I talk to, they have a lot of goals, and we've got to first narrow in on that one goal. Why do we have to focus on one goal? Because our mind has to focus. So you narrow down on one, and all the little goals fall into place. But your mind has to have a focus point. A lot of people say they're great at multitasking. Well, actually, no,
Nobody.
multitasking isn't a thing because your mind can only be at one place at one time.
Right.
And if you're trying to do things, you're just going to do a lot of little things and not move the goalpost to where you really want to go. So you've really got to just give your mind focus.
Excellent. Excellent. It's like you like to travel. Okay, I love to travel. So I want to go to all these different places, but you're never going to get to any of them if you don't go to one destination first.
Exactly. Well, yeah, you have to have your focus. Okay, let's just like a trip. Okay, here you go. This is where you're going. This is what you're going to need. Focus on that.
Right.
And you know what? The others will come along as you
They
go.
will. They will. Wonderful, wonderful. Well, what makes you feel like you belong?
What makes me feel like I belong? Well, it was such a relief when I came across this information. You know, I spent so many years that I couldn't sleep. I just couldn't
Mm,
sleep because I knew I was just unsatisfied. And when I heard Bob Proctor say that dissatisfaction is actually a good thing, it's a creative state.
yeah.
It pushes us. It pushes us. And his grandmother always told him, like, why aren't you satisfied? You should be satisfied with what you have. And that's what I told myself. I should be satisfied with what I had. And I would watch the news and I would see everyone else that were worse off than I was. And so I would just tell myself I should be satisfied with what I have. Well, that
Like,
is
what's
so
your
wrong.
problem?
Right. That is so wrong. You should always stay in a sense of dissatisfaction because that's going to force you to get out and be more. And the purpose of a goal is not to get, the purpose of a goal is to grow. It's who you become in the process. And and the pride you can take in yourself of this is who I am now. This is where I was and now look at what I've done. And it's just the sense of belonging finally. I finally found my sense of belonging. And now guess what I do? I sleep all through the night.
Oh, yes. Yay for sleeping through
You,
the night.
you take that for granted. But when your mind's in a constant state of unrest and dissatisfaction, man, it's hard to get through a good night's sleep.
Well, yes, yes. If you're, oh wait, I gotta remember, and I forgot, and and how am I gonna do? Yes, I've had those
So
conversations.
now I really like my days are packed, but it's a satisfied packed. Like I love what I do, and it's just this feeling of satisfaction.
Well, you are in your zone of genius. You are in your real comfort zone, and that's why it's satisfying. And that can be the case for anyone listening, anybody
Anyone.
in this world. And it's not going to be the same because we don't
Nope.
need everybody doing what you're doing. We
No,
need,
everyone has their own purpose.
yes, yes. We just have
Everyone
to
has their
find,
own passion. Everyone has their own skills, things that I'm terrible at. People are so great at. And there's things that people do that I'm like, how could you possibly want to do that? But
right,
they're so
right,
good at it and that fires them up. You know,
exactly.
we're all made for we're all just given some great some talents that in fact, there's a good quote that I love. Steve Bow says this: God's gift to you is more talent and ability than you will ever use in one lifetime. Your gift to God is to develop and utilize as much as that talent and ability as you can in this lifetime.
I like it.
I
That's
do.
true.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Speaking of quotes, what is your favorite quote?
My favorite quote is a quote by Maya Angelou. She wrote, "If we're always trying to be normal, we'll never know how great we can be."
And when did you find that? And how does that inspire you?
It's just I found it, well, I used to read Maya Angelou. I was always inspired by her. She was such a wise person. Probably back when my mom would watch Oprah, she always had Maya on quite a
Right,
bit.
right.
So, but that was one quote that just would kept coming up to me now that once I learned this information, and I was just so driven to teach my girls how not to settle. This was the quote that keeps coming up. Don't try to conform. Don't listen to everyone else. Just be your own person. Whatever that is, just don't conform.
If you try to fit in, you'll never stand out. That's the
Right.
quote that I was trying to remember.
Mm,
If you try to fit in, you're trying to be in the normalization, then you never stand out.
right. And you were given a purpose. You were given skills and talents that is you've got to pull them out. And if you don't, you're going to live that life of dissatisfaction.
Well, let's look at the another perspective of that, because all of those motivations are for our own satisfaction and to help us feel purpose. But there's somebody in the world that needs you to use your gifts and talents and be in your purpose for their benefit.
Right.
You're here to benefit other people. And if you're off, making mud pies instead of being the person that you're supposed to be, that person is losing out on their life. All the people that you're helping through your program, if you weren't living in your purpose to do what you're doing, they would be lost. They needed you to help them turn things around. And whatever gift and talent, which is only uniquely yours and that's not a copy of anybody else, like Judy Garland said, why be a second rate version of someone else when you can be a first rate version of yourself?
Isn't that awesome?
I know
That's a
that's
great
a great
quote.
quote. Well, that's the standardized comfort zone that we want to put people in to be like everybody else. But there are people in this world that need you to be being you, and they're waiting for you.
And it is the questions that are brought to me from my clients are just so like I feel like, well, I do I want to play this role? No, it's just I feel like they're empowering me to help them make these really big decisions. And it is scary for a lot of people to step out of that feeling of that comfort, that safety zone that they've known and step out into the unknown. Um, but it's the most rewarding thing I could have ever been gifted with is to help people take that step and step into their higher purpose. It's rewarding for me and it's so rewarding for them. I love what I do.
Have you heard the illustration about the eagle egg that rolled into the chicken coop and it got with the other eggs and it was raised as a chicken and it thought it was a chicken until one day it saw an eagle soaring above and it finally had the urge to try out his wings and found out he was an eagle. We're all living as chickens. And we're not soaring like eagles. We are not realizing how amazing we are because we're being chickens.
This is true. And this is what Bob Proctor would tell his audiences. People would pay thousands of dollars to attend a Bob Proctor seminar. And he would say 97% of you are going to go home and do nothing with this information because you're going to go home to the life that you know, and you're going to just get stuck on the how when you've got to let go of the how and just focus on what it is you want, who it is you want to become.
Mhm.
And that's why they made this program. Thinking into Results is designed for people to start where they are. So start in the chicken coop.
Fly out of that coop.
Yeah,
It's not what what do I want to be, but what is it I'm meant to be?
right.
It's not like, let me see, I'm going to pull something off the shelf. Okay, I've decided to this. No, you already are what you are. It's a matter of breaking out of the coop and flying, soaring as that, whatever it is.
Right. And that's something I tell my girls now that they're thinking of starting out. And they're like, I'm not sure. That's okay. Your job is to just go out and try things and learn what it is you like. You'll try things you don't like, you'll try things you do like. And that's what life is. You're just tasting life to decide to learn what it is you love and what you don't like, and that's going to help you narrow in on what it is you want to do with your time.
Right. When you find something that you could do it all day long and you didn't realize you'd been doing it for 6 or 8 hours,
Right.
that's what you should do.
I know it. I know
That's
it.
what you do. No,
This
this
is
isn't work. What did I miss 3 meals?
that's your passion.
That's your passion. That's your gifting. That's what you were meant to do. Wow, this has been amazing. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for being with us. But before we close, do you have any parting words for our listeners?
I would just, encourage people to really think about where they are right now. And if they're satisfied, it doesn't matter your age, your gender, your racial background. It doesn't matter your current status in regards to your income. Bob Proctor was kicked out of high school and he became well known throughout the world of guiding people to living a life of purpose and a life of abundance. And just think about that. There are no limitations you should put on yourself.
Absolutely. And like your quote, if we try to be normal, if we're always trying to be normal, we'll never know how amazing we are. So, wow, to our amazing guest. Thank you, Jennifer. And to our
Thank you,
listeners,
Dia.
you're welcome. Belongers, stay connected, stay true to yourself, and always remember you belong. This is Dia Irby with Here Where You Belong podcast signing off. Bye now.
Thanks for tuning in to Hear Where You Belong. We hope today's episode has inspired you to embrace the beauty of belonging in your own life. Remember, no matter where you are or where you're headed, you have a place where you truly belong. Join us again next time for more insightful conversations and heartwarming stories. Until then, stay connected, stay true to yourself, and always remember that you belong.